Think your engine's dying? It's not, it's just suffocating. Skipped maintenance, hidden carbon, lazy sensors. They're robbing you of power and cash. But today, we're revealing 15 secret tricks dealers hate you knowing. And the last one? It could save you thousands in repairs. On number 15, get a used oil analysis. This one costs about $30 and can save you thousands. It's called used oil analysis. Here's how it works. During your next oil change, collect a few ounces of oil mid-drain, mail it to a lab, and they'll send back a detailed report. That report shows exactly what's happening inside your engine, like a blood test for your car. The lab checks for things like metal particles, which can point to early engine wear. One Ford V6 owner spotted a sudden spike in iron. Turns out, his timing chain guides were breaking down. He fixed it before it caused a full engine failure. Another report showed high levels of coolant-related chemicals. Turns out a $24 gasket was leaking. That early catch saved the owner from a cracked head or blown engine. It also helps with oil changes. If your oil still has strong additives and a safe burn point, the lab might say you can go 12,000 miles instead of 10,000. That means fewer oil changes, less waste, and more money in your pocket. Ultimately, this test gives you real proof of how your engine is holding up, so you don't have to guess. On number 14, Walnut Blast, your intake valves. If your car has a direct injection engine, there's a good chance the intake valves are slowly choking on carbon buildup. Unlike older engines, these valves don't get cleaned by fuel spray, so over time, usually by 50,000 to 60,000 miles, oily vapors from the crankcase bake onto them and form a rock-hard crust. That buildup restricts airflow, affects fuel burn, and can even prevent the valves from sealing properly. The fix? Walnut blasting. It's a process where crushed walnut shells are blasted into the intake ports while each cylinder is sealed. The media strips away the carbon without damaging the metal. Once clean, your engine breathes like it's fresh off the production line. And yes, the gains are real. BMW owners often report 3-4 miles per gallon improvements and smoother idle after the process. Some high-mileage hot hatches like the Fiesta ST have regained up to 35 horsepower. Shops charge around $400, $600, but DIYers can do it for under $100. It's 2 hours that can completely restore lost performance. Here's a trick even most seasoned DIYers forget, and it's been sitting right at the bottom of your engine the whole time. On number 13, install a magnetic drain plug. Every time your engine runs, tiny metal particles flake off parts like the pistons, camshaft, and timing chain. Most get trapped by the oil filter, but the smallest ones, too small to catch, keep circulating. That's where a magnetic drain plug steps in. It replaces your factory drain bolt and uses a strong magnet to collect fine metal debris as oil flows past. Over time, it quietly reduces internal wear. Lab results show real benefits. One 700 horsepower Hellcat using a magnetic plug saw iron levels drop to just 8 parts per million, less than 1/3 of typical readings. These magnets grab particles as small as 2 microns, far below what oil filters catch. To install, just swap your current drain plug for a magnetic one during your next oil change. They're cheap, around $15, and take minutes to install. After that, just clean the collected fuzz at every oil change. It's a low-cost, high-impact trick for long-term engine health. Before we move on, tap that subscribe button. Around here, it's all about making your engine last and making sure you know the tricks dealers won't tell you. On number 12, prime the oil system. Here's something most drivers never think about: the damage that happens in the first few seconds after a cold start. Studies from major oil companies and engine makers have shown that up to 70% of engine wear happens before oil pressure fully builds up. That dry moment, right after you turn the key, is when metal parts are rubbing without full protection. There's a simple habit that can fix this. During every oil change, take a few seconds to fill the new oil filter with fresh oil before installing it. This small step helps your engine get pressurized oil almost immediately on startup, reducing metal-on-metal contact. And if your car has been sitting for weeks, You can take it one step further. Pull the fuel pump fuse and crank the engine for 5 to 10 seconds. This builds up oil pressure before any combustion happens. Then plug the fuse back in and start it for real. It's a trick engine builders swear by, and it works just as well for daily drivers, especially in cold weather or heavy stop-and-go driving. Do it every time, and your engine stays protected when it needs it most. You can fix the engine, but what if the car still thinks it's broken? On number 11, reset your ECU after maintenance. When you fix a mechanical issue, like cleaning a MAF sensor, replacing spark plugs, or sealing a vacuum leak, the hardware might be back to perfect, but your car's brain might still be stuck in the past. That's where an ECU reset comes in. Modern ECUs learn. They adapt fuel trims, idle airflow, and even throttle behavior based on how the engine's been running. If you've had a dirty throttle body for months, the ECU may have compensated by opening it further than usual. Clean it, and it might still behave like it's dirty. On number 10, clean the throttle body. Even a paper-thin ring of carbon can mess with your idle. One SAE study found that gunk, just 0.2 millimeter thick around the throttle plate, reduced idle airflow by 10 to 15%. That's enough to make your ECU scramble just to keep the engine running. Cleaning your throttle body manually with a can of cleaner and a rag restores proper airflow where the engine needs it most, low throttle openings. It's especially useful for curing a rough or hunting idle, poor off-the-line response, or sticky pedal feel. Real-world logs show this works. A Trailblazer needed 3.9% throttle just to idle pre-clean. After a scrub and reset, it dropped to 0.8%. The stumble vanished. It's a quick job. Remove the intake hose, scrub the bore and throttle plate, and clean any idle air passages. Combined with a simple ECU reset, this $5 fix brings back smooth, stable idle, and sharper throttle. Factory feel restored. Getting air in is only half the battle. Knowing how much got in is where the real gains hide. On number 9, clean the MAF sensor for better airflow readings. When your mass airflow sensor gets dirty, your engine doesn't just breathe worse, it starts guessing. That guesswork can throw off fueling by 10% or more, hurting power, idle, and MPG. The fix? A $10 can of MAF cleaner and 5 quiet minutes. Spray the sensor's fine wire without touching it, let it dry, reinstall, and that's it. On forums, drivers have logged everything from smoother idle to a full 5% horsepower gain and 10+ MPG improvement on the next tank. One 911 owner saw 229 horsepower become 241 after a clean. A Prius jumped from 45 to 58 MPG. That's how sensitive modern ECUs are to airflow accuracy. On number 8, flush with ATF before oil change. Here's a trick old school mechanics still swear by, using a half to 1 quart of automatic transmission fluid as a short-term engine flush right before your oil change. Why? ATF has powerful detergents designed to clean tight hydraulic systems. When added to warm oil and idled gently for 5 to 15 minutes, it breaks down varnish and sludge inside the engine. You drain it out with the oil, and with it, years of carbon buildup. Enthusiasts on forums have shared wild results, like lifter ticks vanishing, smoother idle, and blackened oil pouring out, followed by crystal clear oil on the next fill. One case saw low oil pressure cured after years of gunked up passages. It's not for every engine though, but if yours is showing its age or running rough, this $7 hack can help clean things out without tearing into the block. Just don't rev it hard. This flush is gentle, but powerful. The next trick doesn't require a wrench, a lift, or even a garage. Just a gas station and a red bottle that's been around since World War II. On number 7, add Marvel Mystery Oil to fuel. Here's a forgotten gem that still earns respect in car circles. Adding Marvel Mystery Oil to your fuel for upper cylinder lubrication and mild cleaning. Just 4 ounces per 10 gallons is enough. MMO enters through the fuel injectors, lightly lubricating valves, piston rings, and injectors, areas modern pump gas doesn't protect. It's especially helpful for older engines, high-mile commuters, or any car that sits a lot. Why does it work? MMO is mostly light mineral oil with a bit of solvent and sulfur, enough to clean deposits and coat metal with a friction-reducing film. One driver saw compression rise from 95 to 150 psi after soaking with MMO. Others report smoother idle, tighter ring seal, and even +1 to +2 mpg gains. It won't fix a failing engine, but used regularly, it helps preserve power and smoothness in engines old and new. Think of it as easy, cheap mechanical TLC with every fill-up. On number 6, install an oil catch can. Here's one that quietly saves your engine from slow, dirty death. Installing an oil catch can. Modern engines, especially direct injected ones, push oily vapors through the intake to meet emission standards. The problem? That oil coats your intake manifold and valves, forming crusty carbon buildup that chokes airflow and hurts performance over time. A catch can intercept those vapors, traps the oil, and keeps your intake clean. The numbers speak volumes. On average, people drain out an ounce of gunk every 1,000 miles. That's a full crankcase's worth of blow-by over 40,000 miles, never hitting your valves. Without it, you're looking at power loss, cold start misfires, and eventually an expensive walnut blast to fix it. Resetting the ECU wipes those learned behaviors so it can start fresh, based on the new reality. It's simple. Disconnect the battery for 5 to 10 minutes, or use a scan tool to clear adaptive memory. Then, let the engine idle, warm up, and take it for a light drive. This teaches the ECU your clean, updated engine setup. Enthusiasts have seen real gains from this. Sharper throttle, smoother idle, even +5 mpg reported after resets. It's like rebooting a sluggish phone after clearing out junk. Same hardware, but suddenly it runs like new again. Installation's not hard. Locate your PCV hose, unplug it, and insert the catch can in between using the provided hoses and brackets. Empty it every oil change. You'll be shocked at what's in there. Now let's talk about what race teams, chemists, and old-school mechanics quietly agree on. On number 5, add a molybdenum oil additive. This one's straight from the world of lubrication engineers. Adding molybdenum disulfide to your oil to reduce engine wear. Molybdenum disulfide is a solid lubricant that plates onto internal surfaces, creating a slick boundary layer that resists friction even under extreme pressure. When you pour in a treatment, like Liqui-Moly MOS2, it suspends microscopic particles in your oil that help your engine run smoother, quieter, and more efficiently, especially under load or during cold starts. In real-world use, drivers report stronger idle, fewer ticks, and better MPG. One Porsche owner said it idled smoother for years, while a Tacoma driver logged up to 1.5 more miles per gallon. Peer-reviewed data even shows MOS2 can drop friction by up to 40% in critical areas. Application is simple. 1 300 ml can per oil change, mixed right in. No tools needed. It's low-cost, low-effort insurance that reduces wear and helps your engine feel factory fresh longer. On number 4, piston soak to free stuck rings. If your engine's lost compression or is burning oil, don't assume it needs a rebuild just yet. Stuck piston rings might be the culprit, and a piston soak can bring them back to life. This trick involves removing the spark plugs and pouring a solvent like Marvel Mystery Oil, Seafoam, or ATF into each cylinder. Let it soak overnight, or even up to 48 hours. These fluids break down the carbon that glues rings in place. After the soak, crank the engine, with plugs out, to expel the liquid, then change the oil and fire it up. Expect smoke, lots of it. That's carbon and gunk burning off. But in many cases, compression jumps back up and oil burning drops dramatically. GM techs use this method on 5.3L engines before teardown, and DIYers have seen compression gains of over 50 psi in just a day. It's cheap and sometimes saves an engine that felt nearly lost. That was deep cleaning from below. Now, let's see what happens when you attack the problem from above. On number 3, intake solvent cleaning for carbon removal. Unlike piston soaks that target stuck rings with a deep soak through the spark plugs, this trick hits carbon from the top end, right through the intake while the engine's running. You feed a can of seafoam, CRC, or Marvel Mystery Oil into a vacuum line or throttle body. As it enters, it coats the intake valves, piston tops, and combustion chambers. Then you shut the engine off and let it heat soak. When you restart, you'll see a cloud. That's carbon and solvent burning off. This method cleans carbon where fuel can't reach, especially intake valves in direct injected engines. It's great for restoring throttle response, curing light pinging, or freshening up an older motor without pulling anything apart. For under $15 and 30 minutes of work, it's like giving your engine a detox without touching a wrench. Just do it outside. Trust me. Hold tight for the final surprise. But first, one of the oldest engine hacks is making a comeback. And yes, it involves actual water. On number 2, steam clean carbon with water injection. Yes, water, carefully introduced, can clean your engine from the inside. At fast idle, with the engine fully warm, you mist or gently feed small amounts of distilled water into a vacuum line or throttle body. The result? Instant steam in the combustion chamber, which blasts carbon deposits off pistons and valves. Done right, this method dislodges gunk that causes knock, power loss, and poor fuel economy. Tests show it can restore 3 to 5 psi of compression and improve MPG by up to 20%. Even automakers like BMW have experimented with it on performance engines. But caution is critical. Never pour water directly. Mist only. Keep engine RPMs up to avoid stalling, and don't flood a cold engine. Hydrolock is real if you dump too much too fast. Stick to distilled water and use short bursts, not a steady stream. Done safely, it's an ultra-cheap trick that genuinely works. On number 1, do a proper Italian tune-up. The Italian tune-up is real. Even Hyundai and GM prescribe full throttle runs to burn off combustion chamber deposit, but it only works if you do it correctly and safely. Start with a fully warm engine, oil above 180 degrees, coolant at operating temp. Use a lower gear to keep RPMs in the 70 to 90% redline range under load, like merging hard onto the highway or climbing a hill. 2 or 3 pulls every few hundred miles is plenty. Don't attempt this with cold oil, old timing belts, active misfires, or low oil levels. Never hold it at redline or lug the engine in a high gear. Avoid doing it right before shutdown. Let the car cool down with light driving so the turbo and catalytic converter aren't heat-soaked. Done right, this trick clears carbon, improves idle, and restores throttle response. No chemicals needed, just heat and pressure. The engine generates itself. Your engine's sorted, but don't stop there. Up next, 11 WD-40 tricks pros swear by to save thousands in repairs. You've got the oil handled, now handle everything else.